What's up, y'all? It's your favorite healer, The Alchemist, and I'm back with another blackout reading. This reading might be very specific for someone. I'm literally just sitting on my lunch break, and I was like, well, lunch break is an hour, so let's see if I can get some channel messages for the collective. So as always, if it don't apply, let it fly. If it resonates, take what resonates and leave the rest for somebody else. Might not be your message. Anyway, so as I was asking to become a clear channel for messages for the collective, immediately the song that came to me is Listen to Your Heart by DHT. It's an old song. I was listening to it when I was like 10 years old. But the song is really about listening to your heart in regards to love, but I'm not getting a love message right now. This is about listening to your inner voice, listening to your heart. What do you desire? What do you want? In my last reading, I talked about, reclaiming your power and not giving your power away to divination tools, because ultimately you are the power behind that. How God lives within all of us, and you are literally created in God's image. So therefore you are a God, you are a goddess, lowercase g, not uppercase G, not to be confused, but you are powerful. I do believe that the desires of our heart are not placed there for no reason. So if you have desires on your heart, then they are to be fulfilled because it is indeed divine guidance. So by listening to your heart, it's like I said, like listening to your inner compass, your inner compass, listening to yourself. Oftentimes we find ourselves thinking too much with our logical mind, right? We're just like, you know what, this doesn't make sense. I'm not going to leave my job because it doesn't make sense, or I'm not going to do this because it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to be with this person. I'm not going to go with that because logically it just doesn't make sense. And that's where your heart comes into place, right? Like, what do you feel? Some things don't make sense. Some things defy logic, but it's about what do you feel? What comes up for you when you have these thoughts of maybe like moving forward on an idea, anything? What is your heart telling you? Listening to your heart is not naive. It's not stupid. It's literal emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a thing. Just like you have intelligence, you have emotional intelligence. So I believe as long as you are balancing both and not just going like everything. I don't believe everything should be heart led. I don't believe everything should be led by your logical mind either. I believe that you should find a balance between both, right? So that you know for sure you're making a sound decision. You're making a decision that makes sense, but also a decision that feels divinely led or feels good in your body. People talk a lot about like following your intuition, and how do you know the difference between your intuition and just like your thoughts, right? And the difference is intuition is calm. That's how you know it's divine guidance, because it feels calm in your body. And it's just overthinking whenever you start feeling anxious. But also, so it's really just about having discernment, right? But it's also about having discernment, right? And how you basically exercise your intuitive muscle is you spend time in meditation, you spend time in silence. Meditation doesn't have to look like sitting cross-legged saying, that's not what it has to look like, right? Meditation is literally any time that you find yourself in the present moment. You could be washing dishes, and while you're washing the dishes, you're not thinking about your task list or what you got to do tomorrow, what you got to do today after you finish the dishes, or thinking about a past situation or even a future situation. You're in the present moment washing the dishes. Maybe you're listening to music while you wash the dishes, so you're just jamming out. That is you being present, and that is when you will receive divine guidance, when you're actually present in the moment. You could just be driving down the interstate, whatever. So yeah, meditation doesn't have to look like sitting cross-legged, being kumbaya and shit. It can look like so many different things, and that is how you exercise your intuitive muscle. I know that sometimes, like, well, I follow a lot of spiritualists on social media, so I know sometimes they'll post like intuition tests, like test your intuition. What tarot card do I have, or what color crystal is this? Those are other ways. Also, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube. You can, exercise your intuitive muscle too, so you know when it is your intuition versus just a bad thought or whatever. How do you become more emotionally intelligent? I really feel like that is an acquired skill, right? Just like you acquire knowledge. In order to be better at that, you literally just have to pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to how do your emotions show up in your body. That's the first thing. Gaining an awareness, right? How is this anger showing up in my body? I'm angry right now. Am I actually angry at the situation, or am I mad at something else? Like, I'm in traffic, I'm screaming, I'm yelling. Okay, there's something deeper there. Whenever we have a negative reaction to something, it's typically because there's something else. So I'm going to use this as an example, and this is something that actually I've learned from when I was in school. We had a guy come in and talk to our class. He was a guy that worked with CDV, criminal domestic violence. So he worked with men that had gone to jail with domestic violence charges, and trying to like rehabilitate them and get them back into the community, right? So if they're able to grasp this, everybody should be able to grasp this, because if you've ever witnessed domestic violence or know someone that's been through it, it's, yeah. But anyway, so essentially, like I said, you have a choice. When you're faced with a situation, you have a choice to either react negatively or positively, right? So let's say I'm in a drive-thru. They get my order completely wrong. They get it completely wrong. And I go the fuck off. I chose to be angry in that moment. But that anger is telling a story. First of all, angry. Anger is a secondary emotion. So we need to figure out, what is that primary emotion? Is it because maybe I feel unheard? And it's like, it sounds silly, right? But stay with me. Maybe I feel unheard. This is triggering something from my childhood. I've always felt unheard in my childhood. So now I went to place this order. Y'all got it completely wrong. It's like, you're not understanding me. You're not hearing me. Now I'm triggered. Now I'm pissed. It's something deeper behind that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Anger is a secondary emotion. Now, if you choose to react positively to the situation, you could literally just be like, okay, hey, they got my order wrong. No big deal. They just have to fix it. But because it's really not that big of a deal. Like, there's a lot of things that people have an overreaction to, and you really have to check yourself. And again, this is back to how you build emotional intelligence. Check yourself in that moment. Am I responding to what is actually happening, or am I responding to something else? Because you have a choice on how you get to respond. You do. I know for people who ain't there yet, this sounds wild. Like, well, they got my order wrong, so I have every right to be angry. No one's saying that your anger is not valid. Your emotions are always valid. Let me make that very clear, and I'm going to say it again. Your emotions are always valid. However, sometimes people overreact to situations. And when you have an overreaction to a situation, you need to find out, what am I actually responding to? Because 9 times out of 10, you're not actually responding to what is actually happening. You're responding to a past event, and you are triggered. And I talked about triggers, not in any of my readings or anything, but I have talked about triggers like on somewhere on YouTube or TikTok or somewhere. And, triggers are essentially just having a strong emotional response to something. And it's typically the emotional response doesn't match what is actually happening. So that is one way that you can definitely help build your emotional intelligence, is really just checking in with yourself. Check in with yourself and pause before you react, because you ultimately have a choice. When you're stuck in traffic and traffic is frustrating, trust me. I get it. However, you could just be like, you know what? Hey, I can't control this. And that goes back to the whole, like, I know people have probably seen those Venn diagrams where it's like, what's in your control, what's out of your control, right? That goes back to that. This is out of my control. I can't control traffic. I can't control the flow. I can't control how other people drive. I can't control none of that shit. So why am I going to stress myself out about it? And sometimes I think that we carry other people's shit. I don't think that that's true. We carry other people's stuff. So it's like, you might have grown up in your whole life. You've been dealing with parents that have low emotional intelligence, emotionally mature, call it what it is. And they're in traffic just beep, beep. What the fuck? What, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so you learn that. That's a learned behavior. So now that's what you do. And it's like, I found myself actually, and I'm going to speak on myself for a second. I found myself in a situation like this where I'm like, I'm not even upset. Like, I'm just sitting here screaming at people. I'm not mad. What am I doing? I just learned this from watching my mother drive and how she be going the fuck off on people. And it's like, why am I doing that? I'm just repeating something. So really just checking in with yourself. Am I carrying someone else's story, or is this mine? Do I actually feel this way, or am I just doing what I've learned throughout my time? Because again, you have a choice. You have a choice in how you feel. And in coaching, because for those of you that don't know, I do offer CBT coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy coaching. And in coaching, we talk about growth mindset. You literally change your mindset, change your life, period. That's it. It really just takes that, just a simple change in mindset. To choose to see things differently from a higher perspective. You know what? Like I said, this is out of my control, so I ain't gonna stress it. I'm gonna just sit in traffic. I'm gonna turn my music up, but I'm gonna jam out. Yeah, I'm gonna have a good time, because I can't control this. Because you being mad at it ain't changing shit either. So, like, you have a choice. And you probably mad because you had a long day at work. You really just want to get home. And I get it, but you're not really upset at the traffic. You're just upset because you just want to get home. And that's valid. Like I said, your emotions are always valid, but how you choose to react to things is not. So, to put it all in a cute little bow, always listen to yourself. Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to how emotions show up in your body. Change your perspective. View things from a higher perspective. I think I spoke about that in the last reading, like being the observer in your life. Or I spoke about it somewhere. I don't know. I say a lot of things. But being an observer of your life. Stop being so irrationally upset at things that are out of your control. Control what you can control and leave the rest to God. Leave it all to God. Like, I don't understand what... I do understand. But anyway, that's all I have. Like I said, take what resonates, leave the rest. I hope this gave you some type of guidance, some type of something. As you know, I am a reader, obviously, right? I'm doing intuitive channeling right now, but I do read tarot cards. So if you ever need a reading, check me out. If you ever need a coaching session, check me out. Like I said, it is CBT, so I do work on, like, trying to get you to shift your mindset, because you literally get to choose how you feel. You do. I do Reiki. I do sound healing. The link tree will be in the description box below. And as always, happy healing.